Win up to £25,000. The Community Lottery, a subscription-based lottery that allows you to continue to support good causes that matter. When you win, good causes win. Every month, eligible good causes have the opportunity to win a share of funds that could help them continue the good work that they do in our communities. To apply, there's no complicated forms, nor do you have to be a registered charity. Just grab your phone, send us a 60-second video explaining your good cause and the difference having extra funding would make to your project. Visit thecommunitylottery.com. Hit the play button and sign up for either 13 weekly draws or by direct debit for just £4.35 that gives you 4 weekly draws. You could have the chance of winning £25,000. The aim of the Community Lottery is to create an additional source of funding that will enable good causes to undertake innovative projects that matter. If you're in, the communities win.
Got me running, shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Raise your hands up, raise them up.
Good evening, and welcome again to the After Dark Show. This is your girl, Yvonne Michelle, and I am here as your host, as always, and to talk to you about relationships and a little bit more. So how have you been today? How has it gone for you? It has been incredibly warm. The studio is warm today. So if you see me do this every so often, you know I'm overheating. But nevertheless, we are here for 2 hours and we are going to have an amazing show. I have an incredible guest with me today who is live in the studio. And a little bit later on, we will have some of the panel members pop in just to ask a few questions as we go along. But before we go any further, what I want to tell you about is the retreat. Yes, the retreat. We have some information here for you, and also on the documents. If it's not there at the moment, we will add a link. If you are interested in coming to the retreat, please put your details on our wait list, and we will come back to you with all of the details. Yes. So we are looking for people who are really interested in being part of our retreat and coming and relaxing at the beautiful Whittlebury Hall. So before we go any further, I'm just going to show you a little infomercial about the retreat. But before we do that, we're going to go there now. Welcome to the R Retreat, located at Northamptonshire's Whittlebury Hall complex, a 4-star hotel providing a luxury spa and golfing experience with the finest food and sports facilities. Absolutely everything that you could ask for to relax and recharge. But not only that, we have provided the best relationship and well-being speaker experts to empower you, to give you tools, tips and strategies of how to develop and grow your own relationships with self and with others. So come and recharge, re-energize, realign, and rebuild. Book your place today at the R.E.A.L Retreat, Whittlebury Hall, Northamptonshire. This is the time for you and you alone to give back to you. And there you have it, the R.E.A.L Retreat, courtesy of the After Dark show. Listen, we've been going for over a year, 18 months now. We've just taken a break, we're back. And in that time, I've said, you know what, we need to do something for our people. We need to do something that gives back and also gives you a chance to learn and relax at the same time. How about that? So that's the R Retreat, and you're going to be seeing lots and lots of adverts going around. So do not delay. Get your ticket, book your spot today because it is limited in numbers. There's only a few numbers. And also you can either choose to stay for the whole weekend and everything is included, or you can just come for the workshop. So you have a choice. So the choice is yours. Think about it and then get in touch and book your spot. So anyway, that's enough about the retreat. I have an amazing guest with me. I have a very handsome young man in the studio this evening, and he is a relationship expert. He is also the founder of Women in Business, and not only that, he is the, what would I say you are? You are the developer, the designer of women's shoes design that's coming out. So this is an exclusive interview with this young man. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Des O'Connor.
Yvonne, thanks for having me on your show. I'm really looking forward to it.
You're very, very welcome, Des. Thank you for being here. So how have you been, first and foremost?
Hot. It's been very, 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 very hot.
It is hot.
The weather's been hot, but no, I've been good, busy, lots happening. You know, the pandemic came along and just changed a lot of things for everybody. So, you know, now we're sort of back to some sort of norm yesterday.
Well, yesterday. Yeah.
So, yeah, so I was just planning the up and coming events that's happening.
Okay, so the up and coming events that are coming. So we're going to talk a bit about that because I know you've got an event coming in September.
That's right, yep.
And but before we get to September, we're going to talk about how you started, because I know that there are lots of people who are watching, and some people, because we have our own panel members as well. We have panel members and they talk about relationships from their perspective. And having you on as a man and as an expert on relationships, I'm sure our men are listening. And I don't know if any of them are going to call in tonight. Are they going to be on the panel tonight? I don't know if they're going to, Tony, if you're watching, or Kelly on if you're watching, if you want to jump in, you know, at 9:15, feel free to jump in and ask there some questions. But one of the things that I recognize as a more mature person is that sometimes we think that we know it all. And so we kind of think, well, I'm looking for love and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I still can't find it. And it's his fault, or from the male perspective, it's her fault. And so today, one of the reasons why I wanted you to come in, not only are you one of our speakers for the retreat, but I wanted to get you in to kind of start putting some steps in place so that our listeners and those who come to the retreat will start to understand that there are still things that we can do and that we are not always right. Even though we've got a world of experience, we're not always right. And so, but before that, I know that you started off as a driving instructor, which might have been many, many years ago. But I just want you to talk us through how you came about going from a driving instructor to being this relationship expert. And so just, you know, let people know that you're an ordinary, everyday guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. I haven't been asked about my my driving school business for many years. I qualified as a driving instructor, I think it was 1999, just before the millennium. Yeah. And I didn't know anything about branding, marketing. And I just became a driving instructor. And the reason for that was I was working for an American oil company called Chevron before.
Oh, yeah.
And they were making redundancies. And I was there for about 7-8 years,
Mm.
and I was working in the mailroom in there,
Okay.
and it was my second job after I was working at the Ministry of Defence. Anyway, they were making redundancies, and they gave us about 2 years' notice. And KPMG came in as a consultancy firm to provide training for us, and they also provided every employee with £2,000, a £2,000 sponsor to go on any course that they want,
Oh, wow.
and it didn't
Okay.
have to be related to the company.
Okay.
So at the time, I was my sister Maureen at the time. I had an older sister. She just passed her driving test. I passed my driving test, many years before her.
Mhm.
And we used to go and visit our grandparents in Croydon. So I would help her to drive in her car. So I was
Okay.
to build up her confidence.
Mhm.
And she always used to keep saying to me, "Oh, you're really patient. You should be a driving instructor." And I thought, yeah, I didn't really think of it. But when they were talking about redundancies and they were giving us £2,000, and at the time the course to become a driving instructor was £2,000.
Right.
So it was meant to happen. So I qualified with BSM. Then I went to AA driving school for a few years, and then I set up Des O'Connor's driving school in I think 2001, and had about 10 instructors working for me in South London, and it just took off from there. I appeared on TV. I was on Richard and Judy twice,
Oh, okay.
the One Show, and I was quoted as the celeb driving instructor because of my name as well.
Right. Oh, yeah. Des O'Connor. Yeah.
So because of the name, and then
Yeah.
there was all these Des O'Connor driving schools going around all over over South London. So it was interesting. So that's how I started getting into that. And fast forward on, I suppose, I met a woman. We got married, had a baby, moved out in Ashford in Kent, and my driving school was really going well, successfully. And unfortunately, the marriage broke down.
Okay.
A very painful divorce. I won't bore everybody with it today, but it's my driving school just went from, I suppose, 10, 15 instructors I had working for me to 0. So as you can imagine, that was had a significant effect.
Yeah, it must have had a massive impact.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And when we got divorced and she left and I was in the house, and I didn't know what to do. I was low in confidence, and I felt lost, and I didn't know about personal development then.
Right.
I didn't know what it meant at all. And I really wish that I knew about. I think I was 35, 36, 37 now at that time. And my daughter's godfather, a good friend called Jay, when I was going through issues with my wife at the time, I'd be complaining to her about her, and obviously she'd be complaining to her friends about me. And
right.
And he kept saying to me, "Oh, you need to take responsibility, and you need to, I'm going to send you some personal development stuff." And he sent me Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And it was annoying because I was in that mindset of blaming her and making her wrong.
Right.
And a lot of these self-development courses, books, programs, they're all telling you the same thing in a different way.
Yeah.
And what I couldn't get my head around in the beginning was they would say things like, "You have a problem, it's good." And I'm like, what is good about the situation I'm in now? Because how can you be in a bad situation and look at it as good? But I didn't understand that at the time. And it was around about when The Secret came out, 2006, right? And then, everybody was going crazy about this book, this DVD, this film.
Yeah.
And it was really good. And you could read the book in a day. It was that short, but it was a really good book. And what I needed for me at that moment in my life when I was really low was a lift.
Yeah.
I needed, there wasn't nobody around at the time to guide me. Even though I had my friend Jay, he was based all the way in Bournemouth, which was,
far.
It was really far. So I started getting into personal development, and I studied life coaching, and at the same time I was having therapy. Funny enough, when we was going through our problems in our marriage, we was having therapy.
Okay.
And the therapist that we had was actually still my therapist up until last year, because she retired.
Okay.
So what happened was I was studying life coaching because I loved the way it made me feel. It gave me hope, and it was options, and I liked that. I like that feeling of, you know, being empowered and positive and
Right.
and helping people how they can improve their life.
Mhm.
So originally I decided to qualify as a life coach specifically for driving instructors, because at the time there's about 40,000 driving instructors in the whole of the UK, but there was no life coaches helping them to improve their life and their business.
Right. I'm with
So I
you.
thought, that's a big market.
Huge.
I can tap into that.
Mhm.
And then what happened was that I remember when I was in the house, and I was going through a bad phase, and I can't remember what was going on. There was solicitors' letters being faxed to me, emailed to me, and it was really, really, really traumatic. And I remember I came in, and there was this. My laptop was open, and there was this this dating company called X Factor Dates, and they held speed dating and singles events in London.
Okay.
And at the time, I was low in confidence. I didn't really love myself, and I thought, well, if I go to this event and and I didn't have a lot of money as well, so they were paying. It was based in the city, and I thought, well, if I'm going to be organising these singles events, there's going to be 30 women, 30 men, 30 women. One of the women are bound to like me.
Okay.
That's the mindset.
That's
I was,
what you had right in mind.
because I was just slow. You know, everything just happened so quickly,
Mhm.
and then I just qualified as a coach, because they didn't want me to do it until I qualified as a coach.
Mhm.
So when I qualified as a life coach,
Yeah.
I had all these single women coming up to me and say to me, "Why am I single?" I was just the guy with a t-shirt just organising the event.
That awful question. Why are you single?
Why are you single? and then I started to I could see it wasn't about the men,
Right.
because it was the women that were coming to me and saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, you know, how come I can't find a man? All these men are not. I can't find a guy, and all this." And it was all about her. But then I couldn't explain that to her or these women in a short space of time, because, like me, when I first was introduced to coaching, it was a process, and it was a gradual process of me to absorb it, take it on board, and utilize the tools that were there.
Yeah.
So if you're not into coaching, it's the first time I'm speaking to you about it, I'm not going to be able to convince you how to look at things differently in 10 minutes. It's going to be impossible. It needs to be a gradual process. So I spoke to the director at the time, lovely woman called Sarah. I said, let me run a workship for you for the women, because they had a massive database. They had events all over the UK,
Okay.
over 100,000 database. So it was ideal. So I just wanted to, you know, utilize my coaching skills for the women,
Right.
because men are not really going to go to these type of events.
Okay.
You're not
Ladies, I was going to say, ladies, are you hearing this? Are you hearing this? Okay. I want you to listen carefully.
Because the men are not really going to go to. You're not going to get 100 men in a room. I wouldn't say learning, but discovering how to improve yourself or to find women.
Yeah.
It's more, women are more likely to want to get out and learn and grow and understand things a lot more better.
It's the truth. Yeah.
So the first event I did for this company, about 90 women turned up.
Wow.
Actually, I remember I had a dictaphone tape recorder in my pocket with it on, with my headset, and I was just using the tools that I learned from the coaching. And I had models from the coaching, so I was applying it, and it went really, really well. It went really, really well. And there was about, I'd say, 70 white women in the room, about 10 black women, and then all the others were from different races.
Okay.
So it was a diverse crowd in there, and it went really well. So what happened after that was that about 3 of the black women that were in the rooms came up to me and said to me, "That was amazing. You got to do this for black women. No one's doing it." This was, if you think about it, this was 2008.
Wow.
So
many moons ago.
Many moons ago. And he goes, "Oh, you know what? You got to do this, for our community and this." And I says, "No." I said, "You're joking. You're not going to get me getting in a room with 100 black women. This is my mentality back then.
Right.
You're not going to get a man in a room telling black women how to find a black man. It's not going to happen. No way." And he goes, "Oh no, it's needed, and this and the other." So bearing in mind, I qualified as a coach not to do dating. It was to help driving instructors improve their life. Okay, so it was playing on my mind. So I went home and I did some research on what's going on with our community with the dating on YouTube, and it was more big in America.
Yeah,
they were really, and I thought, wow, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. Even there's more so now.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought, okay, there's no one in the UK doing this. I've just qualified as a coach. I do know a lot of women anyway. So I said, okay, let me just do a one-off workshop. And it was called How to Find a Good Black Man.
Okay.
Right. And 35 women turned up. And it went well. 35 women turned up. And then, remember, that was meant to be a one-off. So then what happened was, if that's really good, if not just black women, but any woman that goes to somewhere and it's good, or anything that's good, they're going to tell their friends.
Yeah.
So then what happened was they were asking me, when's your next one? So fast forward on, I then did another one. 80 women turned up.
Okay.
And then I did another one. 100 women turned up. And then every month I was holding events for black women. 150 to 200 black women were coming to the events. It was packed and it went really well. So what I decided to do was, even though I was coaching directly the women, one of the things that I realized was that they weren't really understanding the men. Right. And there seemed to be a pattern, and I think it still happens now. I mean, even men do it and women do it, but because the subject is talking about women, women tend to talk to their girlfriends about their relationships than men. They go on, if they're going to complain, they complain to their girlfriends, and then they exchange their stories, whether it's positive or negative, and then she usually reacts from that as well. Okay. And one of the things that I realized was that some of the assumptions that these women were having were inaccurate, wrong, and they were damaging themselves moving forward. Okay. And the only way they were going to be able to understand men is to hear from men. Simple as that. Yeah. And as simple as that was, if you think back, Yvonne, no one was really doing that. And what I decided to do, I thought, right, I'm going to bring 15 men on stage to take all the questions from the women in the audience. And there's some women that's never experienced that. Okay. You think about it, have you ever gone somewhere where there's 15 men on stage that you can ask him anything, any question within reason? And it went well. And 15 black men on stage, all the men were single. The women loved it because they were single. Right. Are you hearing this? I just want to throw this out to the audience who are listening. Are you hearing this? Because at the end of the day, this is what the retreat is about. This is why we have this young man. I keep calling him, I know everybody. I call everybody young. This young man 21. Here. You wish. Yeah. So this is it. I just want, this is why I've asked Des to give the story, so you can understand where we're coming from, right? So where we can understand where you are coming from. Okay, cool. So carry on, Des. So what I wanted to happen is for both sexes to learn from each other. Okay. And it wasn't about the blaming. It was about understanding each other. And there was a lot of things that stood out for me, that especially from the women. Okay. There were a lot of women that one of the questions that stood out, I was learning as well. One of the things that stood out for me was the definition of the word single. So I'm already laughing. Yeah. So this stood out a mile, and there was women that wanted to challenge the men about that. And I was trying to let the women know, look, no, this is how it is. So you meet me, and we're at a bar, and I get talking to you, and I say to you, are you single? Okay. Now, most women are going to define that as, well, I'm not dating anybody. I'm not sleeping with anybody. I'm not entertaining nobody. I'm single, available. I'm here. Choose me. I'm here. Choose me. Yeah. And so that's fine. Right. But when a woman asks the man that question, he'll say he's single, but he could be sleeping with 3-4 different women at the same time. And the women are okay with it, and he's okay with it, but that could be me. And then you're asking me, am I single? I'm going to tell you I am single.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
And what we learned from that event was a lot of women were making the men wrong for saying that, because they were saying that he should tell her about that.
Right. Okay.
Now, this was really debatable. It was really going on. And one of the things that I personally learned myself is that women have a different definition of single to a man does.
Yeah.
So then you can see why there's complications. So let's say, for argument's sake, we've gone out for a meal and I've dropped you home and you give me a nice kiss in the car and you've gone in, and I've gone back home and a girl's coming to stay over, and you come round to my house in the morning and she's there. Who's wrong?
You are. You are. You are. Ladies, if you are watching, please let me know what the answer the question. Oh, yes. Who's wrong?
Who's wrong?
Who's wrong? Who's wrong? Because the thing is, you know, nothing is new under the sun, because we still go through this now. You know, we're in the millennium now. We're in 2021.
Social media makes it so much easier. The dating apps.
Do you think? I mean, let me just throw something out to you, because this is a question I asked last week or the week before. The question I asked is, do you think dating will change now that we've gone through this COVID thing and with the vaccine and all of that? I asked the question because some of my clients have said to me that being on a dating site, they're getting asked the question, have you been vaccinated? And if they say no, and the person has, that date can't work.
Wow.
Can't work again. So the impact now, social media, the COVID, all of the on dating, especially for those of us who are over a certain age, the more mature people, and you know, we have quite a big following, and it's mostly what I'm hearing is the women saying they want to find a man, but the men are not willing to settle down. I hate that word settle. But or you know, make that commitment in a relationship. So there's nothing new. So in this question that you're asking, and the man he's seen single completely, I'd call that singlish. That's singlish.
That was 2008, 9, 10. That's when I had that. Yeah.
And that we're 2021 and it's still the same. Singlish.
Well, the thing is, one of the main thing out of that was that we wasn't understanding each other's sexes. If you think about it, most people that are in relationships, well, most people per se, do not study the opposite sex. If you think about it, right? This is opposite sex is the most probably the most important part of our life. If you think about it, and we put our energy and our time and our focus and our money into this, into our career, into cars, etc., okay, be financially secure, which I get. Then the relationship part is the one that most probably crushes us emotionally. There's people out there now walking around have got unresolved issues that they haven't dealt with because of relationships, etc., including myself. We all got stuff going on. I don't think I'm sitting there and I'm all polished and everything's 100% perfect. I've made mistakes and there's challenges like everybody else. However, what I wanted to do was get the women and the men to communicate with each other and understand them, because there could be one thing that a man says to a woman that makes her look at her life completely differently, and vice versa. And when I was doing that, it went really, really well. And there was questions asked about, what type of woman are you looking for? Why some men don't commit and some others don't, and it was really, because women want to know, where, as you just said, where do I find a man that can commit? I want to be settled. I want the ring on my finger. I want a family and all those kind of things as well. And when I used to have the events, and I used to when I used to do coaching, and the more I was getting into it, it had nothing to do with the men. That's right. It had nothing whatsoever to do with the men. And they were.
Are you hearing this, ladies? And I know that some of our men will be like, yes, You're gonna get some supporters tonight. Yes, he's telling the truth. It's got nothing to do with the men. I tell you. Well, let's keep going, guys. And listen, guys, before we go any further, do remember to share this. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, and even tell your frenemies. This After Dark is on, and they need to be listening to that. If you want to have a good relationship, if you want to find a man, if you want to find a woman, you need to be watching. And if you are married, you still need to be in this program, because you're going to get tools and tips to ignite your relationship a little bit more. So carry on, Des. Sorry.
Yeah. So when a man is I suppose playing, and he's dating 3-4 women at the same time. Now I used to be like that. So I'm when I used to speak to women about that, I used to say, look, I had knowledge on that because that was me. Right. Now, when I met my wife, I was dating however many women at the time. However, when I started and I was exclusive to her, they went. Okay. Well, they had to anyway. And she even though she was, I suppose, the first woman that I dated back then. Okay. And I think me subconsciously, I was looking for that. I wanted to settle and all those things. But I would say this, a lot of men that are out there that are playing and juggling 4 or 5 women at the same time, they've got some stuff going on. And me at the time, I suppose when I was doing it, lack of self-love, I wasn't maybe not confident, my ego, because back then it was like, yeah, my friends were doing it, so it was cool for me to do it. And I didn't feel I was young enough. I was too young to settle down, and all those things as well. And because us men don't talk about this. This is like behind closed doors when we get talking about it. But if you think about it, why would you want to date 4 or 5 different women when you could have one? Right? And I suppose if one of them's like with me, I could talk about that. If I was getting grief from one of them, then I still had more as backup. Does that make sense? Yeah. Back then. And I remember when I used to share this on stage, I had women wanted to kill me. I had women that were angry and I wanted to really. And I'm saying, whoa, that was what I used to do. And I'm coming clean and saying the reasons why. There was something going on. And when I got married, I stopped. And I think what I was doing was maybe there was a fear of, I think a lot of men are afraid of that commitment. Yes. And I think it's like because then they've committed 100%. And unfortunately, there's some men that is okay to give a woman 2 or 3 children, but not put a ring on her finger. Come on now. So there's all those, there's all dynamics, because to me, it's like, well, it's the other way around. It should be the other way around, because then if you walk, then you've still got the children. Yeah. But if you walk and you've married her and there's no children involved, then it's not as problematic, if that makes sense. Yeah. But an easier way to move away, isn't it? Yeah. And a lot of the men, we're not really going to come out and admit that. Admit that. And then what happens then is the women that want to settle are meeting these guys, and if they are saying the right things to her, she's going to think it's exclusive, and that's where the problem lies. Yeah. One of the problems that I identified when I was working with women is that in the early days in the relationship, they don't make it a requirement from the man in the early days. This is what she's and this is what she wants. I remember in the early days with my my ex-wife at the time, in the early days, and I remember I still had that playish boy about me when I was with her in the beginning. And she sat me down and she said to me, I'm just going to say this to you. I'm looking for a serious relationship, this is what I want. Bang. And I respected her for that. So then I had to make a choice. And I've never had a woman speak to me like that before. Right. But a couple of years later, we got married. Right. But that's because she made it clear, because she knew how I was before. Right. So she was like, look, if you're going out there and be a player, then go back out there, but that's not going to happen here. And I mean, she didn't say words to that effect, but it was the way she put it across, because she made the requirement from the off. And unfortunately, the problems with some women that when they meet a guy, they may sleep with him too soon. And then when she does sleep with him too soon, she gets emotionally connected to him.
Right.
And then when she gets emotionally connected to him, she falls in love with him. And then it's difficult to walk away. And then she starts tolerating things that she may not have tolerated before.
Okay.
And it builds up and it builds up from there. But if she made it a requirement, say from the beginning, because there's some men that do not want to get married, they're petrified. I have friends and family members that are petrified. They're happy with the woman and they've got the kids, but they don't want to put that ring on their finger because it's the big exclusive, like the wedding, that is it. I'm sort of taken. When I used to coach women, they used to come to me and say, well, why am I meeting the wrong guys? You know, what is going on? Why am I meeting these wrong guys? Why do I keep meeting players? Why do I keep meeting married men? Why do I keep meeting men that are cheating on me? And the list goes on. Right. And I used to say, when we used to do these at my events, and I used to have all these women, and I'd get them all telling, yeah, he was this, he was a player, he was unfaithful, he was this and all that. And I asked them one key question in the room. And I said, all these men that were wrong and they were bad and all those things, who chose the men?
This is it for me. You hit the nail on the head. This in most conversations, didn't you choose him? Didn't you choose her? I think me and Theo, who produces the show, we've had this conversation many a time. Okay, hold on. We've got some comments here. Is that McCoy? McCoy? There's a long one here. Yeah, this generation has made the grey areas of courting into a sub-level ladder of dating nowadays. Right. Okay, maybe you're going to explain what that means. Expectations and priorities have been inappropriately merged due to the misappropriation of loving self, hence the disinterest in marriage and a peak in open relationships, and a variation of the norm in the lifestyle choices as individuals just want to be free. When you match energy when you match energy with another, all these semantics go out the window, as each party will do anything to be with another.
But the root of that is still the fear.
Yeah.
The root of that there's a reason why he doesn't want to have that commitment. And he's afraid of something. There's something he's afraid of. And sometimes, I, on reflection, I got married when I was 35.
Okay.
And, a lot of my friends and family were surprised I was getting married because I wasn't perceived as the marrying type.
Right.
But I think what I was subconsciously was searching for that. I wanted to be settled. I wanted to do that. But most probably, I wasn't being honest with myself. And I suppose the opportunity came to me when I met this woman. She was, and the reason why I say I most probably was looking for someone, because she was divorced before.
Right.
So she was Jamaican. So she already had the foundation. She already understood.
She knew what she wanted.
She knew
right?
what she wanted. So
Yeah.
I never dated a woman like that before.
Right.
That, and she had a little baby boy as well. I forgot to mention, she had a baby boy. He was about 18 months. So she was homely. She knew how to look after the home. She knew how to look after her husband. And that's what I wanted. And when I experienced that, I thought, yeah, this was it. So, I told my friends we're getting married at a big wedding in Ashford in Maidstone. And yeah. And unfortunately, some men got issues with that. But back to what I was saying with the choosing, what I realized was that when I was doing the coaching, when I started off with our community, there were women from other races that, you could see some of my promos. There was women from other races, black, white, European, Russian. Is your coaching cultural based? Is it only for black people? And I said, no, it's not. But I'm a black man. I've tapped into a niche that is helping black women. I've created loads of weddings engagements, babies, not mine. So if people say to me, well, what's your success story? And well, I've been at weddings, I've made speeches, I've created lots of weddings and relationships. People have been coming to my events, been matching up. And so people ask me, I say, well, I'm a walking testimony of what I've been doing. And what happened was then I took a year out, came back, took out the word black, and was just calling myself a relationship expert. I won an award, went to America, and from then it just went from strength to strength. And I helped other races, the Asian community, as we know, he has his issues like we have in our community, and it was it went really, really well. But the two key things that I learned myself that stood out for when I was doing the dating and relationship events. One, we have a choice. It's really important. One, we have a choice. And two, we need to take responsibility for those choices that we make.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, it's very easy. I went for a painful divorce. I wasn't going to in and out to that. But I was very angry. I was hurt, painful. I hated my ex-wife. I was angry. And then when I was going over my coaching, I had to ask myself the same question. Who chose her? And then once I admitted that, and then look at the reasons as to why I chose her. And sometimes when we come out of any relationship, we never have a self-reflect on ourselves. It's very easy to blame the other person. And that's because we're in pain, we're hurt, we got a lot of emotions, and it's really important who you talk to as well.
Absolutely.
And we usually have two sets of friends. The one that's gonna tell you you're right even though you're wrong. We've all got those, right? So you're in that mood where, who am I gonna ring up? Am I gonna ring up this friend that's gonna tell me you're out of order and you're wrong? But I don't need that now. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I'm gonna ring up this person here. It's gonna say to me, yeah, you're right, don't do it, and then fuel it. Fuel it. Put
the petrol on there,
petrol
mate.
on it. And then I'm gonna react to that person without me realizing it. And a lot of us do that. So then you really need, and I used to say that at events as well, be careful who you speak to. If you're going to speak to anybody, try and avoid someone that's angry and single, for obvious reasons. So if you think about it, if you've had a relationship where your partner or your husband was unfaithful to you, okay? And you're upset and you hurt about that, and you're going to have some trust issues with that, possibly. And you then speak to a girlfriend that experienced the same thing, and she's more angry than you, okay? And you've met a new guy now, and all the buttons are ticked. You started seeing him, it's going well. 3 months, you started sleeping with him, or what have you not. And then he's going away to Newcastle for the weekend with the boys for a weekend trip. But your partner went away to Manchester, and that's how you found out he was being unfaithful. Right? So there's a trigger there. All right. So then you get a bit anxious about it. You don't know who to talk to. And then you call up your friends, same friends, and you say to her, "This is how I'm feeling," and the same thing's happened to her, right? Or worse. She is not going to help you.
No, she's going to fuel it.
She's going to fuel it. But you could speak to somebody else who's going to say, "Do you trust him?" You're going to say, "Yeah." "Do you love him?" "Yes." "Okay, what's going on here? What has he given you any reason to doubt him?" "No, not really." "Right. So what's this all about?" "This is all about my ex. What happened before." And a lot of us don't go through those processes when we're in it. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but then if you have a system in place and have that key person that you can go and talk to, that's intelligent, level-headed, or even better, a therapist. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't want to go to therapy because they think that. I remember growing up, if I knew of anybody, or my parents knew of anybody going to see a therapist, they would think something was wrong with them. And
there's a stigma attached
to it. And one of the best things I love about is going to therapy. I can just be me. And if I'm carrying anything around, let it out.
Absolutely.
You can only because then what happens is if you don't let it out, it's going to stay in, and then you become ill because it needs to come out somewhere. Whether it's abscesses, whether it's whatever it is, it's going to come out.
True.
And a lot of us are holding in unresolved issues. And when I used to hold my events, I used to ask, and I always do it, even now, and I ask everybody in the room, hands up those of you who has unresolved issues.
Yeah.
Sorry, I reverse it. Put your hand up if you don't have any unresolved issues, and no one puts their hand up.
Okay.
So, then I used to say, there's 150 people in this room. We all have unresolved issues. There's 75 men, there's 75 women. If you all were to date and meet each other and date each other, you're bringing your unresolved issues into the pot, into the mix. And then you're both are going to be triggering stuff between each other. And then, you know, how many divorces could have been prevented if they dealt with their unresolved issues?
Yeah.
You know, how many domestic violence, and the list goes on, that could have been prevented
because of that.
Yeah. And, you know, the government and people in general in the world are not pushing for that, are not pushing for personal development. This should have been in our schools
long time,
ages ago.
Yeah. There are certain schools that do. I mean, my background is trauma, but as I walked away from that, I started to work a lot in schools. And so some of the schools I worked in, it was motivational speaking and working with the young people who were having some issues, unresolved issues within their own homes or within themselves. And what I found was when you bring personal development in there, it changes the whole dynamic.
Definitely.
And so I think that this is something that needs to happen. You know, I want to kind of go to a video actually before we go, and I just want to welcome everybody and thank everyone for joining us tonight on the show with our guest Des O'Connor here. He's very famous. The name is famous. I remember Des. I remember him. I remember him well.
He died last year, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did die.
Bless him.
Yeah, he did pass away. But yeah, unfortunately. But we are going to go into a video just to because you've been hearing lots of what Des has been talking about, and so we want to back that up with some evidence of what Des actually does. So we're going to go to a video. We ready for a video? Yeah, we're ready for the first video.
Tips that women should never ever do on their first date.
Never do on their first date?
Yes.
Never do. Okay. Tip number one, I'd say do not speak about your ex-partner.
Okay. What's the second tip?
The second tip is be yourself and be honest. Okay? It's not about you telling him that you're, you know, for example, you're a big shot, independent, successful woman earning 6-figure sum and you're not. Because the lies will come out, and you, especially you may. We all do it. We've all told little porkies on the
Men do.
We all do it.
Men do, but women shouldn't do it. Yeah, men do. They even borrow cars and they come in
to impress the woman.
And big watch and be like, yes,
to impress. Yeah, because we want to impress the woman. And
so women shouldn't do that at all.
No, just be yourself, because the truth will come out in the end.
Okay, so be yourself. That's very important. What's the tip number 3?
Tip number 3, I would say, is do not bring your issues on the table for the first date as well. If you haven't worked on yourself prior to that point, try and work on yourself. But try and make the event you're having with him as positive and as enjoyable as possible. And try not to come across as negative, rude, swear, and you know, those negative traits. You know, there's ways of portraying them as well, and try not to judge them on the first date as well, because you know we all do not tell the truth on the first date, so to speak. We all, you know, like to cover up certain situations, and you may ask a woman when was the last time she had a date, and she may tell you 6 months ago, and it might have been last night. For argument's sake.
Same as men.
Same as men. Just like to say that. Same as men as well.
So don't open up too much.
That's right.
Okay, what's tip number 4?
Tip number 4 is look the part, but don't show too much, especially if it's hot. And what I mean by that is, if you wear a short skirt and showing your cleavage, that could be perceived as a bit too much for some men, especially if he's looking for a woman to settle down with and maybe get married, all those kind of things, that will be perceived as not a serious type of woman, but not too much, because he could be perceived as though you're something else.
Wow. Okay, very interesting. Now, tip number 5.
Tip number 5 is what I said originally: is have a screening process in place. It's so important. You need to have your plan in place. What do you want to find out about this guy? And align that with what you're looking for. So if you want to be married and settle down, have that question in place to ask him that indirectly.
Tip number 6.
Tip number 6 is to try not to judge him by what he's saying on the first date. Okay, because he may not be 100% telling you honestly what he wants you to hear. Maybe he just wants you to hear what you want to hear. Okay. One more tip that I would say for the women when they go out there and they meet a man is give him compliments as well. Keep smiling. Okay, it's very important. Give him compliments. Keep smiling, and find out what he likes in life in general. You know what makes him tick. If he likes sport and he supports a football team, for argument's sake, then take note of that, because it may you may see a key ring for £5 and may want to buy it for him. Finding out about himself, ask him, the relationship with his mother, his sisters, the females around him that are important to him, and also listen to what he says about his mother. It's so important, very important. If he's very positive and loving and caring about his mother, he's more likely to be like that with yourself.
Wow. Okay.
That men are humans as well. We have been brought up in a society where the man is the hard one. He goes out to work, he does all of this thing. But we live in a world that we are trying to become more and more equal, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're also trying to recognize that men hurt too. And the same way that there are men out there who just have many women, there are women out there who have many men, right? The numbers might be smaller, we might not hear about it as much, but it still does happen.
Yeah.
And so I want us to kind of like, I'm looking at the comments and everything that's coming in this evening, and I really want us to be more open, because there's lots and lots. I know that in the After Dark Club, so we have an After Dark Club, there are many single women in there who have, some of them have reached out to me privately. They really want to find somebody. Can I put something together? Now, I am not, and I'm going to say this openly on it, I am not a relationship coach. I'm an empowerment coach. I empower people to live the life of their dreams. That's what I do. And I empower people to speak on stages. That's what I do, right? But I feel like, like when you was talking about, you're doing your the driving instructor and you've got this massive need and you're going for this, but then something happens and it just keeps steering you in this direction. And I think because I have this mindset, whereas, and people talk to me, I'm like, well, you chose that person, so when are you going to take responsibility? And when you start to take responsibility, and this is what I know as a matter of fact, when you take responsibility for your life, 100% responsibility for your life, things start to change.
Yeah.
And your perception changes. And once that changes, then things start to change around you and you navigate differently. And then you are then in the position to then look at yourself and make those changes that you need to make.
Yeah.
Then for that person that you want to come in. Because there are some of us women, I'm just going to say it, that are just full that are just full of self. I'm just going to say it, full of self. And when I say full of self, it's like, I've been through this and he did that and I and this and I and I and I and I and I. And we're not in that dreadlocks thing. It's not I and I and I and I. It's not that kind of party. What we want to do now is get to a place where we can start to identify and take responsibility and say, do you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong for this. Or I chose him and I keep changing. I keep choosing the same person. He just has a different name each time.
From the same place.
From the same place. Right. And there are so many women out there that are taking those steps to self-development. Now, I think that, with our After Dark retreat, there's going to be a lot of self-development in there.
Definitely.
This and I think it's something that we must do. Because if you're saying to me that you started in 1999 and in 2007 and 2003 and 2000 and all them early years, the issues was exactly the same as what I'm hearing today, then there's work to be done.
And if you think about it, if someone's holding an event to help men and women find the right partner, you'd think that should be packed.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah.
But then in the past, I've heard people say, I'm not going to go to that rubbish. I've had women come to my events and their friends are telling them that it's a load of rubbish. What do you want to go and do that for? Are you desperate? That was one of the ones.
Wow.
And then there was this perception that desperate women were coming to my events. Those so-called desperate women are married.
Right.
Have a family.
Yeah.
Are set up, learning about themselves a lot more. And unfortunately, people have got that perception of that. And I think it's a combination of they don't want to deal with their own unresolved issues they may have that may be triggered. And like you said, it's all about them. There's that as well. And they're looking down on those types of events. So what am I going to go to that event for? It's full like people used to say it's packed with desperate people, the ones that people don't want.
But if we were to create something like we are creating something, and we have a cohort of women, whether they're desperate or not, right? Cohort of professional women who have got an intention to meet somebody. And then we have some men who have the same intention. Isn't that the step that we need to take? Because one of the things that I hear a lot is, where do you go? Where do you find? So some, there are men on dating sites. There are players on dating. So there's lots of people on dating sites. Back in the day, we used to go clubbing. That's non-existent now. Unless you're going to meet somebody at work or in the grocery store. We spoke about this last week. Some of the men were laughing like, yeah, which shop are you going to go? I'll go Waitrose, I'll go Sainsbury's, I'll go, whatever. But if we're creating these events, then it's down to those individuals, even those of you who are listening and watching today, it's down to you to take that and utilize it and think, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn about myself. I'm going to build a better relationship with myself. And then I will be in a better place to then meet whoever is there. And it doesn't matter what that person looks like. It might not be, he may not. And this is another thing. He may not even be your type. Your type is the one that's been playing you all along. So is your type really what you want? No, it's not. Cast your net on the other side and try something different. That's what I think.
And I agree.
That's what I think. So Des, so we're going to move on to personal development, because I know that this is something you went from the dating and you jumped into helping women in business.
Yeah.
So what was that? What did that look like?
It was interesting. And it was a wake-up call for me about myself, because I remember I held a single women's conference and I had about 7 women speakers at my event. And what happened was that I remember sitting in the room and I looked around and all the women were sharing the event,
Uh-huh.
hashtagging and sharing it all over social media. And I thought, wow, these women are sharing my brand
Okay.
for free. And I looked at it and I thought, wow. And I thought, how come there's not a lot of women speakers speaking on stage as well? So I looked at it and I saw all these women at my event, all on stage speaking, promoting my brand. All the women in there are promoting my brand. And I thought, wow, I suppose if I did this on a bigger scale, I could change a lot of people's lives. So then I spoke to a lot of seminar promoters, and I was like, well, how come there's not a lot of women speaking at your events? Especially people of color as well. It was just predominantly men, white men.
Yeah.
And they were giving me all these excuses. And one of the things I was speaking to a lot of these promoters and for myself, and I wanted to, back then, I was suppose one of the main guys that was out there doing things. I was like in everybody's faces and stuff. So, and I was trying to get to speak at their event, because back then I thought I was in awe. I was like, oh God, I just need to speak on that stage because there's no other way I can get on stage. There's no other option for me. And then I said, create your own event.
Yeah.
You don't need those people to elevate you on their platform. They obviously don't want you on their stage. That's the best thing. So I started going along to these big seminars and I was crewing, I had the t-shirt on, I was helping out, but I was learning it.
Yeah.
I was learning how to do the events, hence why I can do mine now very successfully. And so then I started asking them, why are you not giving women an opportunity to speak on stage? And the excuses are really sexist. They can't speak on stage. Time of the month affects the sales.
Wow.
Yeah, you name it. All I got a blog about it as well. And I thought, wow, because I've just held an event. I had 7 women, and it was a fantastic event. So what are they talking about? You know, and I just think they were just sexist men that just wanted it all men and look down on women. So I thought, I'm going to do my own thing. So I decided to hold Des O'Connor's Women in Business about 6 years ago. First one had about 15 speakers, 13 of them were women, and it went well. And fast forward on, I'm holding my 8th one on September the 11th. But interestingly enough, Yvonne, I remember when, I don't know who it was, but I remember a woman asked me a question on stage. She must have been a therapist or somebody. And she said to me, can I ask you a question for everybody? I said, yeah, fine. She goes, what is the real root reason why you're doing what you're doing? I thought, what do you mean? And she says, there's more to it than that. What's the root of it? And I sat, the room was packed. And I sat there and I thought, do you know when someone asks you a question and you know that they know the answer, and it just hit me there and then on stage. And I said, you know something? As a young boy growing up, I was mainly brought up by my mum and my sister. My dad was still around, and I had an older brother, so I had the balance of both the men and the women. I wasn't a single mum, and there was no man around. I had the balance, but I was brought up mainly pampered and spoilt by my sisters and my mum, right? And lots of love around there as well. And I was able to express myself as a young boy growing up to my mum and my sister, and I was never judged.
Right.
And I think that is so important as a man to have that growing up, because I was able to express myself. So if I wanted to cry, they never made me feel though I was, man up. You shouldn't be crying and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I wouldn't go to my dad about that because he was old school. He's Jamaican, he was old school. But my mum and my sister, they would embrace me. Right. They would say, don't worry. We're going to work through this. And there's a solution. There's always going to be a solution. And growing up, I've always had that. So I was always be able to go and talk to somebody. Right. And unfortunately, in the past, I've dated women that were the opposite. Okay. So then they get afraid of my openness. Right. So then I'm saying, this is me. And she's saying, well, you've got those issues. And I say, yeah, that's right. That's me. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when it shuts down because she's not used to opening up. And I'm not saying all women like that. I'm talking like it happens on both sides as well. And what I did with the women in business is that when you have a room packed with women, there's something special about that. There's a special energy in the room. There's a loving, caring environment. Women come to my events and speak on stage. They're not just selling. My events are not pitching fests. I make sure they're not pitching fests. Some people do sell, obviously, but it's not a pitching fest. But I wanted to create an environment where women can express themselves, share their story, it improves their confidence, but most importantly, they're embraced by the audience.
Right.
And that's so important. There's women that have spoken on my stage that have broken down, broken through, if you want to call it a breakthrough, and not one person in the room judged them.
Right.
When they come off the stage, they'll embrace them.
It's really
Don't worry. Let's see if we can work that out. What happened when I was a young boy? The same thing. So what I've done is subconsciously recreated the environment from my childhood into these events. So when I've gone on stage at my events and I've broken down, talking about my mum and other things as well. My mum passed away. My mum passed away in 2003, and I was struggling to deal with that. Not one person judged me. And I think another thing that women love to they love to, no matter what women say, they love to hear men talk about themselves and the relationships as well. Yeah, women love to hear about it. They won't admit it, but they love to, because we are what they want. So learn from us. Okay. Because there's no point talking to a female that doesn't really understand men. If you've got a brother, if you've got a cousin, male friend, say, look, this is the situation. I'm going through this situation with my partner. What do you think? I guarantee the answer he gives you and that your female friend will give you will be two different answers. And he most probably will give you a more balanced answer. So don't do that, because you're gonna damage his ego, or he's gonna cause problems, or you're gonna push him away from you, etc., etc. So I created that environment, and I've had 8 events since, several hundreds of people have been on stage. First time speakers, mediocre speakers I've spoken a few times. And I had a celebrity as well. I had R.E.A.L, the first female on Dragon's Den. So it's gone from strength to strength, and I've helped women with their branding, their website, their logo, their speaking if they want to speak, interview them on Facebook Lives. And one of the things that I realized was, when I was setting this up, I looked at all the other women in business groups, events that was taking place, and I didn't want to just do what they're doing. I wanted to do something different, bigger, and I wanted to be the #1 within 2 years.
Right.
And I achieved that. And how mine were different is, you go to a seminar and you see the big stage, and you see the big screen, your big stage, and you're thinking, wow, what do I have to do to get on that stage? And what I decided to do was create that environment for the average person in the audience.
Okay.
So then if you came to my event, I know you've been to my events before, but you come to my event for the first time, and there's a woman on stage, shares her story, and she's inspired, and you have a story, that's going to inspire you to want to go back up there. Because what we do is we record your video on stage and provide you with a professional show reel.
Right.
What does that give you? That gives you options and the opportunity to then go to other seminar promoters like myself in other countries, America. You can say, this is me speaking at an event. Because America's into their personal development and events a lot bigger than the UK. So then it's gone from someone never spoken on stage before, speaking on stage to a large audience, have a professional show reel, get clients from the room, and on top of that, I promote them to my network as well. So what they invest in myself, they get that back from the clients that they're giving. And no one was doing that. Nobody was doing that. The women in business groups, a lot of them, unfortunately, they get together in 30, 20, 30, 40, and they just share stories and they just talk, which is great for them. I didn't want to do that because there's too many of them scattered about all over the place. I wanted to, what do you want to do with your business? Where do you want to be? Do you want to speak in America? Do you want to get on TV? Do you want to change your career?
Yeah.
Are you a stay-at-home mum, or you're single, or you're divorced? What do you want? Who do you want to be known as? And then make that happen for them.
Yeah.
Because everybody has something. Everybody has intelligence in them, and everyone's got a goal that they want to go there. How do they get there?
Yeah. What's the journey?
What's the journey
steps?
to get there?
Yeah.
So I'm the one that just fast tracks that.
Okay.
You know, you come to me, what do you want to do? We do your logo, your branding, your mission statement, find out who you want to be, but most importantly, promote you to give you the clients and the exposure. That's what you need. So when people are speaking at my events, you know, some of them don't have their exhibition roller banner.
Right.
Some of them don't have business cards. Some of them doesn't have flyers. So we do all of that for them,
okay.
not just putting them on stage. Do their webinars, help them do their webinars, train them to run their own Facebook Lives. There's a lot of people. Funny enough, I was very anxious about Facebook Lives when they first came out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think about it. I didn't tell anybody, but I was thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Because it's like you're looking into a screen and you can't. I'm used to seeing people, and you can't see. It's a bit like webinars, and you can't see anybody. And it took me a while. I mean, I'm okay about it now. So then, when I have clients that I'm working with, I can say it's okay. I was like that.
You know that. You
I
know
was
how
like
it feels,
that.
yeah.
And we take baby steps, and that's what I help them to. You know, people that have, I want to speak on stage and I've never spoken on stage. How do I go about it? Baby steps. Do some Facebook Live interviews. Talk to yourself when you're in the shower. Talk to yourself when you're washing up. Talk to yourself before you get out of bed. Talk as though you're on stage.
Yeah.
This is how I would walk. This is how I would talk. Practice, practice, practice. So when you go on stage, it just flows.
Yeah. Yeah. We do similar things but mine came from trauma. Because I do a lot of work around mirrors in trauma. So who are you looking at? You're looking at yourself, which is when you're doing a Facebook Live, you're looking at yourself. And so that's where I got the concepts, and some of the things that I get them to do is based on those same mirror exercises that I would take those ladies who'd been through all different types of trauma through to reconnect with themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so they can look into their own eyes and see who they are. You know, your eyes are the windows of your soul. So, you know, it works.
One of the things that I say, back to the relationships, when I say to people, you know, you can't lie when you look in the mirror.
You can't.
You're looking at the mirror and you be honest with yourself. Look in the mirror, you're honest with yourself, and ask yourself, what is going on here in this situation? What is really going on? Is it really about him? Is it really about her? Is this my unresolved issue? Is it something I'm triggering? I remember when I first picked up the phone for a therapist, to get therapy, I think it was in my 20s, late 20s. I had some stuff going on. I didn't know what was going on. And I just felt that I needed to get therapy. And it's one of the best things I did, because you work out your stuff.
You do.
And then the thing about with me is that when I know why I married the wrong woman.
Right.
And I think once you get to that place where, and you're right, once you take responsibility, you feel lighter.
You do.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not upset about some things, but I know why I chose her, you know?
Yeah.
And then I accepted the reasons why. No one put a gun to my head and say, make sure you marry her. So then when I went through that, I was able to share that on stage with people in the room. That's why I go back when I ask about how many of you in here have unresolved issues. And then we stop it there. Then I get them to write down what the issue is. Don't share it with anybody. Right. Have you dealt with it? And you'd be surprised the majority of the people haven't dealt with it. So when they get into a relationship with someone, that person will just trigger something. It could be whatever it is, that person's gone off.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about with the mirror. And I get them to look in the mirror and be true to yourself. What is going on here? Yeah. Ask yourself. You know, it's all about what questions you ask yourself.
This is powerful stuff here, you know. So powerful stuff here. You know, this conversation today it's a little bit unusual for us, because normally we're like in the chat, we're chatting, but because this is so intense, and because I really feel that because we are going towards the retreat and helping people, because the retreat is not something, we want to make a little bit of change on it because we're putting on an event. But at the end of the day, this is about changing people's lives and their perceptions of where they are, so that they can achieve those goals that they want. And this is what this is about, guys. So those of you who are, you know, watching today and you are like, oh well, you know, this is a bit more personal and we're chatting a bit more, I want you to kind of get to the understanding that in order for there to be change in your life, you first have to change. And you may feel like you don't have to do any change because you've done it already and you still haven't found that person. Then there's still some things that need to change. You know what I mean? There's still some things that need to change. And this is a really open and candid conversation. I love it. I love it. We can go to some of the comments. Let's go to, is it Simone Kennedy Harding? I can see up there. She says that I've been educating myself about men for the last 8 months since being single. I don't want to be making the same mistake moving forward. Feel like I'm at college. Yeah, and it can feel like that. But know this, know that you are doing the work and you will be rewarded for the work. And that's that. I mean, it's just a process of life, really. You know, what you put in
That's what you get out.
is what you get out. And that's what I found. There are many single people. And I'm a single woman. I make no, it's not quite a thing. Everybody knows I'm single. And many people ask me that same stupid question, why are you single? Why are you single? And for me, I'll say, yeah, it's a silly question, yeah? And the reason why it's a silly question, because why is anyone single? Because they are. But for me, my life is like this. I'm working on me. And then that puts me, yes, it puts me in a position of being maybe quite picky because I've done the work on me and I'm continually doing the work on me. So when I meet somebody, I can process that quite quickly, and it's not a judgment on them, but I just know where they are. And if they are not at a particular place, then I know that that person's not for me at that moment. So, and hear me when I say at that moment. So that means that that person may just need to go and work on themselves and come back, or not. If they don't want to work on themselves, they don't have to. But it's because I know what I'm worth and I know what I want. Like you said about your ex-wife, she made it a requirement. And a lot of the time with single women, we get this place where it's like, anything will do. I just need to have a man, and I'm just not in that position. I'm not in that place. It doesn't bother me. I'm busy. I'm doing stuff. So I mean, so it doesn't bother me like that. Welcome a nice man to come in, but know how to, you know, some of them. I told the story last week. Let me just tell you this quick story. Last week, we have Red Letter Tuesday. So on the Red Letter Tuesday, people write in and they say they've got relationship issues. I should have brought one in today, actually, but you'll come back again. Don't worry. Okay, right? And so there was a lady who had what I didn't say, actually. There was a little piece of information that I left out. The lady went to a garage. She went to pick up her son's car. It wasn't. She didn't really have a relationship with the man, but she knows him through her son. And so she picked up the car, went on, and then the mechanic calls her and says, can I send you a picture? So she's a bit confused. And she's a picture of what, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, look, let me send you the picture and then I'll ring you back and I'll explain. So she's like, all right then. So he sends this picture and it's of a woman. And so he sends a picture of the woman and then calls to say, she says, why have you sent me a picture of a woman? I don't understand. I don't know her. And he's asking her, do you know this woman? And she says, no, I don't know the woman. So anyway, it turns out that the woman fancies the other woman. The woman in the picture fancies this woman. But the woman who's writing is saying she wasn't quite with that. So she was like, well, why are you sending it to me? And then the man reveals that it's his ex-girlfriend who tells him that he likes her. And what he's planning is a three-way thing, right? So I said, she was upset about that. And she said she felt insulted. So some of the other panel members were like, no, I don't see any reason why you'd be insulted. But I said, actually, I would be insulted. If I went, and basically, if I went to do something for somebody else and then some professional person then messages me with foolishness like that, yeah, I would be offended. And I don't expect somebody to do that. I just don't have that expectation.
But it's not the norm, is it?
No, I don't think it's the law. But anyway, so
Yeah.
these are the types of things that happen on this show there. So we have Red Letter Tuesday. So we have letters from people who watch the show, and yeah, they're all anonymous. And yeah, we've had some pretty hairy ones as well. We really have. So yeah, so I digress a bit, but I say all of that to say that we have to take responsibility and know what is good for us. And so as a woman, as a single woman, I do have a requirement, and I'm not prepared to drop that. Now, I know that some men be like, your thing is too high, right? You're like nodding, because I know that there are women in here that are saying, yes, what about standards? And I don't think that my standards are too high. I just think that this man has to know himself. And that means that he has to do the work. And if he hasn't done the work, then take some time out, do the work, and then come back. That's what I'm saying.
One of the things, and I agree with you, one of the things that when I used to hold my events, which were really, really women found interesting, is like, you're on a date with me now. How do you, from that first date, there's no guarantee, but how do you find out if there's a possibility of having a positive second date? How do you know from this date with me that we're compatible, we have the same goals, we have the same values? If you want to get married, how does a woman ask a man on a date that she wants to get married and settled and have the children, all those fearful things that men run from in the early days? How does a woman find out about that from the first date? And it was bugging me, because before I was doing these events, because this is a common question, and then women were meeting guys 3-4 months, 6 months, sleeping with him, and then the relationship's breaking up, and they kept doing the same pattern, keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So I thought, okay, so I'm like, all right, this is what needs to happen. So I said to the women, when you go on a date with a guy, ask him these 2 or 3 key questions. Ask him, where does he see himself in 3 years?
Ask him where he sees himself in 3 years. Write this down. Someone put this in the chat. Ask him where he sees himself in 3 years. First question.
But she doesn't have to mention date. She doesn't have to mention dating, right? Now, usually 3-5 year plan. If you're single, most people are going to want to be in a loving, caring, committed relationship. Now, as you know, there's different tiers of relationships. Some people, a marriage is not for them, which is fine for them. But if you're asking me, where do I see myself in 3 years? And I want to be married. I want to be settled. I want to have children. I want, to spend the rest of my life with my partner. If you're asking me, where do you see yourself in 3 years? I may say I want to be financially secure, and I want to be settled. I want to be married. I want to have all those things. Now, if he's telling you that from the first date, and you want the same things, then he qualifies for the next date, because most women don't find that out about a guy until further down the route, further down, when she starts sleeping with him, and then she really starts getting to know him. That question has saved so many women heartbreaks, wasted time, sleeping with the wrong man. And then what happens then? If you ask me that question and I said, I don't even know, to be honest with you, I just want to travel with my boys, I just want to make some money. If you're an intelligent woman, there's not going to be a second date, because he's told you straight up, right? But unfortunately, and I used to go through this at my events, and I used to say to the women, treat your date like you're on an interview. And as crazy as that sounds, that's exactly what you need to do. But unfortunately, we both, men and women, are so focused on this, how we look and the appearance, we're nervous, and all those things coming along. So there's no plan. And then we get there and we just start talking, and we're on our best behavior when we're on our dates. We're not going to share our issues. We never do. We're going to be, like I said on the interview that I had before, we don't tell all ourselves from the first date. We don't. And you're not going to ask somebody, what's wrong with those issues? You're not going to say, committed murder 3 years ago. I got away with it. Oh, who was that? It was my ex. Oh, okay.
Fine.
So by that, you've asked, because I used to do courses on this, online programs. ask him where you see yourself in a year, 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but if the woman doesn't want to get married and she wants to same things as him, that's good for the both of them. I'm not saying, don't make a guy wrong if he doesn't want to get married.
Yeah.
But it's all about the compatibility for the woman that's sharing the same values and goals with the guy. And that's that's one of the main problems. People are going out on dates. Even before you get on the date, ask that before the date.
Yeah.
If you're getting them on WhatsApp, so where do you see yourself in 3 years? But make it lighthearted.
Just have a chit chat. Yeah.
If he's bringing up marriage, then you can then answer that with marriage. But tend not to bring it up because men can perceive that as desperate, needy, and run a mile from that. That's how we could perceive that. But if you keep it relaxed and say, well, you see yourself in 3-5 years, well, I'd like to get married and settle down and have a family. If she wants exactly that, she goes, okay, cool. Then he's not put into the box of player or not serious or we're not getting on. She says, okay, I want to see him again. And then see him again. And then the next date, you can start asking some other questions. So tell me about where you want to see yourself in 3 years. Tell me, where you
look like.
where are you at the moment, and what would you describe how that would look to me? Powerful question.
Yeah.
Describe how that would look to me, and then he'll tell you.
And did you get that question, guys? And this is for men and women. Get that question in. What does that look like? These are some good dating tips here. I hope you guys are writing this down because we are here to learn, and this program is always about the learning. What do you get from this? Should we take a comment? Is that Cardine? It's the last comment there. Sometimes we need to be by ourselves to find ourselves in a better mindset of what qualities we're looking for in a relationship and raising our standards to exhibit true concepts of love. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And as there are some people who are scared to be by themselves.
Yes. And yet again, that comes down to what unresolved issues they have again. It all comes back to them, and it's something that they're lacking. It could be something that they're afraid of. Could be afraid of being alone. And this is why I say, like, everybody should get therapy, work on themselves, and deal. I mean, I'm still work in progress, and I found out a lot of stuff. There's things that I was carrying I didn't even know, and we all have it.
Yeah, we do.
We do. I remember when I went therapy with my ex-wife, and one of the first sessions, and something got brought up, and I just broke down, and I was carrying it subconsciously. I didn't realize I was carrying it. It had nothing to do with her. It was just my stuff. And it was like, wow, I didn't even know I was carrying that. But there's people that are carrying stuff they're not even aware of. And then all it takes is a trigger or a door opening, and that is you. And then, what you're going to do about it, because you guarantee someone's going to trigger that in your future, in your relationships. Somewhere. And you need to know how to manage that. And it's all about what meaning you give that issue.
Definitely.
Because if you blame the person, then there's a saying: you point one finger at you,
the rest are coming back.
Back at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people are not aware of this. There's relationship books, there's YouTube clips, free YouTube clips. There should be millions and billions of views about people watching those, and they're not available. No. And people are not finding a necessity to work on themselves.
No, I think my general perception of that is that a lot of people like the hype. They like the ghetto kind of fabulous, like, oh, look at this person, and they like to laugh at people. They like to take the mick. But when it comes down to serious conversations like what we have here, you find that it's not as popular. Some people just don't want to grow. But before we go any further, I am going to bring in we've got two people in our panel tonight. We've got two ladies here. But what I want to do is I want to show the third video before we go there. And then we're going to bring or whichever number it's supposed to be. And then we're going to bring our ladies in, because we are coming down to the last half hour of the show.
Wow, that's gone
It's gone so quickly, and we haven't even touched on the shoes yet.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is, you're coming back.
Am I?
You are.
Well, let's see what the audience says. They may not want me back.
Oh, we've got a lot because there was so much in here. So what happens is I will go home and I will listen to the show and I will unpick all some stuff,
Okay,
and then I'll
brilliant.
come back because there's some. I know that there's some subject matters that came to my head when you were talking. I was like, oh yeah, that's juicy. We need to talk about that. But I want our audience to get to know you. Right, this is Des O'Connor. Right, I want to get to know you, and because I want them to become familiar with you. So when they come to the retreat, they know exactly who you are, where you're talking from, and we're good. We can just hit the ground running.
That's right.
They met Fidel. Fidel is another speaker, but they know Fidel because Fidel's been on a few times back when we first started. We talked about tantra, sex, and we've talked about loads of things, sex toys, everything we've talked about here. We've had lingerie on here, pole dancing on here. We've had it all.
Really? Wow, great.
Yeah. So I am going to, before anything, you are coming back. So I'm just letting you know that. So let's put the video on and then we're going to bring our two ladies in as well.
So if you don't have a role model, you don't have a mentor, you don't have someone who can be a little bit of an accountability partner for you, go get one. Go find someone. It makes all the difference.
You can have all the great plans in place, but sometimes these beliefs come up about, oh, you know, I feel too old to change, I'm too young, I don't know what I want to do. And we help strip all of that back. If you're the type of person that gives and gives and gives, you need to make sure you fill yourself up. This is also known as self-care.
So because of my experience, I know how important it is to be grounded in a why or a mission or a purpose, whatever word you resonate with more. So for me, I already knew that I wanted to be inspiring and empowering. But what if you don't know?
Because to me, unless your thinking leads to action, then you're not going to change your mindset.
So once you've got a landing page, and on that landing page you're telling people what your thing is that you're giving away for free, and you've got a form on there where they can enter their name and email, you then want that information to go somewhere.
When somebody goes to your website, you have spent time, your resources and money to drive somebody to that website.
But the fact is that anger, that resentment is not really helping you.
What is the main purpose of your website? Your website is there for two reasons. One, to build relationships, and two, to make you money.
So the first time I met Des in person was I came to do some interview work with him, and I just really got that he's got a great charismatic energy and just so full of passion and friendliness and love for what he does, and he's a great impresario. Today's been a really amazing event, and I think all of the speakers who stepped on stage have got great exposure, great publicity, and it's a really amazing way for them to energize their personal brand. So I'd say it's a great opportunity to get your personal brand out, to get your message out to a wonderful audience, and to really get yourself under the wing of Des and his amazing social media presence.
Okay. So we're going to bring in the panel. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Gosh, are we hot or are we hot? Wow, it's yes. We all look like we're in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. I tell you. But before I just jump into the panel, Des, what I wanted to say, if there is anybody out there who wants to contact Des, we'll drop his email at the end of the show. And also, you know, it's open because Des, you can see what he does. We're advertising, we're showing what he does. So if you are a woman in business and you want to speak and you want to connect with Des, connect with Des. This is what this show is about. It is about connecting people with the right people. And we want to grow, we want to thrive, and we want to get bigger and better. So, you know, it's not a matter of, oh, this is Yvonne's show. This is our show for us to do and for us to grow. So with that all said, hello, Lorraine Bailey. How are you? Lorraine is saying hello. Right, so ladies, you've heard a lot tonight. Do you have any questions for Des as women who may be looking for a partner? Now, so we've got Kim Ramsey, who is stateside, and we have Michelle, who is UK side. So we are global tonight.
Yeah.
So whoever wants to jump in first.
All right, I'll start.
I knew you would. I knew it would be you, Kim.
Hi, Des. How are you?
Hi, Kim. Lovely to meet you, my dear.
Yeah, finally. You're my Facebook friend. So
Small world.
yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
I thought your name was familiar because I know a Natasha Ramsey, so the name rings out. So yeah.
Okay.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So what you're seeing in the United States, if you have been watching, is this awakening of the manosphere. Have you heard that term, manosphere? So it's the likes of the young lads Fit and Fresh, ABBA and Preach, and Kevin Samuels. So right now they're spearheading, and there's another guy called Mediocre Tutorials, and they're spearheading this. I wouldn't say it's a revolution. I would say it's more kind of like this movement where men have created a space to be heard. So what they've done is they've actually illuminated the sexual marketplace, right? SMV. So SMV is sexual marketplace value, right? And I know that it exists in the United Kingdom, and I know that it exists in Jamaica, and I know that in the Caribbean, and I know that it exists in the United States. So you are judged on what your value is. And there's this very famous video of Kevin Samuels telling a woman that she was average.
Oh yes.
Rating. So that's what that pertains to. What in America, your value is reduced if you have children, if you're my age, if you don't have great looks, and it is very and if you they don't rate an education. It's more to do with being submissive, listening to what the man says, and there's just a lot of unusual conversations that are going on about what a woman could do to hold on to a man. So the perspective that you're giving is really interesting, because you're asking people to, it is sad. Lolly says it's sad. It's hard, but it's the choices that people are making to be with a partner. So they're having to give up a lot of themselves in order to be in a relationship. So my question to you is, how would you advise somebody who has no children and been divorced and would like a relationship with a man?
First thing I'd ask her is, one of the first questions I usually ask when I work with women like yourself. If you was a client, I'd send you a series of questions, because not one question is going to be able to fix that for you. So I'd look at you as a client and then ask you a lot of questions. But then I want to look at, one of the things I want to know is your past relationships. How they were. Did they work out? What they were like? Why did it break down? And one of the key things I would ask you is, if you was to date you now, if you was to date yourself now, what would you really love about yourself? So I'd ask you, what would you really love about yourself? If you was to date you, what would you really love about yourself? If you was dating you?
Me? Oh, I am funny. I am funny. I do. I like laughing. It just cracks me up.
If I was to date you, what would I love about you?
You like my oxtail, I'll tell you that. My sense of humor. So I try to wear it in. Sometimes I wear it in clothes. So I dressed up for you, mate. Look.
Yeah.
Look at
this. I like it. Kinky.
Oh, geez, yeah.
No lie.
Okay.
I love it.
So I have a sense of humor.
You're freaky.
Possibly. Possibly. Possibly.
Two more things that you love about yourself. Just remember, some men never watch you.
I am kind. I'm kind-hearted. I am.
One more. Are you a good listener?
I can be.
Okay, so that's 5. All right. So
I can get a lot of information off of people before they even know it.
Because I need to understand you. So then, okay. So then there's that. Now I would ask you, name me 5 things I would dislike about being in a relationship with you.
When I go off, I go off. My temper is legendary.
All right. So you're hot-headed.
No, I don't lose my temper often, but when I do, it's a wrap.
Right. Okay. Thanks for being honest about that, because some people would be that. The next one. What would I dislike about dating you?
About dating me, I like my food. I like to eat, and I like to do that more before anything else. I don't mind listening to you talk, but I got to feed my stomach.
Okay. This is what I used to do at my events. It's really interesting because this question, not many women get asked this question. And I ask this question to the women. I say to them, if I was to interview your last 3 ex-boyfriends, what would they dislike about you? They go laughing. What would they say straight? The first thing, because we all have that. If I ask you the same thing, we all have that. It's not wrong or it's not right. But what would it be? What do they used to complain about you the most?
I might work a lot. That would be one,
Okay.
which I've changed. And when I'm right, I'm right. I will not back down. My ex-husband was 6'10" and he's scared. I will not back down.
Okay.
If I'm right, I am right, and I will go all the way.
Okay. One more.
I could be more organized in my life.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it wasn't easy for you to share that. The reason why I asked that is it fair to say that the last 3 that you just said could potentially cause problems in your future relationships?
Very much so.
Right. Thank you. So if I was working with you, I'd get to work, I'd look at that and look at why are you like that? And if you've just admitted it would cause problems, because if you come across a man that detests those areas of you, he's gone. And it could be that you may need to just tweak them or change a few things or work on a particular area. It could be that you're carrying some stuff that you wasn't aware of. Does that make sense? And then what happens then, if you meet a guy that's clued up and knows what he's looking for, and it could be a situation, I always say this to people, the best times to see someone you're dating is when they're angry, they're really angry, or you're having your first argument. You can sort of see where they're at there, how they deal with stressful situations. Because there's a saying in the personal development world, how we do one thing is how we do everything.
Yeah.
So I would say to you, Kim, that those areas that you've looked on, find YouTube clips, books, and look at areas that you can work on those areas and improve those areas. It's never going to be 100% perfect, but then at least you'll be in a better position of when you have a date that guy's not running a mile off because he's seen you, like you said, like when you're right, you're right. Now, guys perceive that as could be stubborn. Guys could perceive that as grief. Guys could perceive that as there's no room for negotiable communication. She's only going to see black, but then it could be grey or it could be orange, but you're only going to see it as black. But supposing he sees it as white, and then if his ex was like that, he's gone.
But if he sees it as white, give me a decent rationale. Don't mansplain shit to me. Tell me something that makes sense. I'm a very logical person. When
what you said, Kim, what you said, what you said to me was, when you're right, and that's it. You're not going to budge. Did you not say that?
I did.
Right.
I did say that.
There is a but.
You didn't put a comma in there. It's a full stop.
A good rationale. A good rationale as to why I can change my opinion. and here's the other thing about being aggressive. And I perceive it as aggressive because of what I used to do for a living. I worked in the emergency room, and when you work in an emergency room in a particular area, you have to exhibit some level of authority, and I want that to cross over. I've been out of that business for about since 2017, so it's a different type of person. I believe that I've leveled out most of those traumas, but some things just don't make sense to me. If you help me make sense, like if I went out on a date with somebody about a few years, no, sorry, didn't even make it to the date. Dude was like, yeah, I was in a fight. And I was like, really? Okay. He's like, yeah, I just got out of jail. Really? How long was you in jail for? 13 years. Really?
13 years.
He goes, yeah, I murdered somebody. You might not want to tell people that on a first date, because that really is let me cut it off, okay? Because I was like done, okay? So when I say I make my decision there, yeah, I can't do that. I can't work with that.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's
You asked me, and I'm trying to kind of explain when I hurt myself. So yeah, I've had another date. I had a date recently. Man was like, he wanted to move me into his home. Sir, you met me less than 2 hours ago. You want me to be your stepmother to the pitney? You want me to cook, clean, wash, and F? So I mean, seriously, what exactly is there for me to offer in this situation when it's all made up? So I want to know, when a guy meets you, they kind of already have this template as to where they see a woman, if they want a long-term situation, or they don't. They just want to, it's three things you can do. You duty date, you date, do real dating, and then there's courtship. You agree? Right? So some men are caught up in this duty date because they're looking for different people, and I get that. I'm just an honest person. If you want to bang, bang. If you don't want to get married, say so. But don't do this gray area of living together, being together, and then there's multiple people, because I produce oxytocin, so I bond. And I know men, for men, some men, sex is functional.
Okay. Well, thank you for adding that bit on the end of that about, they need to come, give you some ideas on how you could not be when you're right, you're not going to go across the other side, because then you're then perceived as someone that can communicate to you. But when you first said that as a man, to me, that will be saying she's stubborn. That's once your mind is made up, it's in that box, sealed, and that's it. But then you added after that, if you communicate to him, you could be persuaded to see it from another angle, which is what you didn't say originally, but now you've added it on there. It sounds a lot more lighter, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does come across more lighter. And that's the thing, I think we have to learn to communicate well, especially now in our age, this vicinity of age that we are in. Communication is everything. And when we say certain things, we can be misconstrued and people just see us as one way. We had somebody say on the show that black women are hard work. Well, that had a whole show of its own after that.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. So, and he was like, oh, no, but I didn't mean it like that. But he said it. Black women are hard work. And it was like, well, why are we hard work? Why would you say that as a black man, say that black women are hard work? And, you don't hear white men saying that white women are hard work, or Asian men saying that Asian women are. So why is it that black men feel it's okay? And it went into a whole different thing.
Yeah, it would do.
So I think it's really important that we learn to communicate well, with each other, so that we can come together more easily and more effectively. But I want to thank you, Kim, for that question. It was a good question. Thank you very much.
I really respect what he said to me too. I like it. I'm a person who hides pain behind laughing, and I know that a lot of people do that too, emotional and physical pain. So it's it is very refreshing when somebody says, but you said this and you made me clarify, which I really respect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And she's done the same thing, what she said that she was going to do. So she's heard what I said. She could have taken it off another angle, but then she's acknowledged it and respected it. And remember, I always say this when I used to do my events, and I used to get, you know, these angry women that are coming there and want to kill me at these events. And I used to say this to them: you don't know who, the man at the back of the room could be your future husband, and you just shot him down. You just, like, I've had men say she's my type looks wise, but when she started doing that, that's telling me it's grief. Forget it. And because that's why I wanted to, because I know people are watching that, but you don't know who your future husband could be watching this. But you said what you said in the beginning, but I wanted to make it lighter for Kim, because the way it sounded as though, you know, and men hate that. Oh, there's no room for vulnerability. Once I see it, that's it. I don't budge. Once I'm right, I'm right. But then you've corrected it, so it's a lot lighter now. So thank you for the acknowledgement. I appreciate that, and good luck.
Thank you,
Michelle.
You're cooking the oxtail. If you're cooking the oxtail, you should be all right.
You should be all right. Yeah, you should be all right. Hey, Michelle, how you doing, darling?
I'm good, thank you. I hope you're all well as well.
Yes, we are. So, Michelle, what do you have a question for Des?
I have so many questions for Des, but I will keep it brief.
You know, the football season starts in a month, so.
It's all right, Des.
She loves football.
Sounds like you got a Bible.
You see, there you go. There was an assumption. You said the football season starts. I'm a season ticket holder, so it starts for me as well.
No, it wasn't an assumption. It wasn't even linked to its sport. I'm just saying the football season. I was saying
the question. Shall we? Yeah.
It wasn't about football. It was just about basically you got a month to get all your questions in, because you got a load of questions. No, you got to stand there. So I'm all ears.
I was listening. I'm a good listener. I was listening. You said that you had three key questions, and you only mentioned two. What was the third?
The key questions. The first two questions was about the duration. Yeah. So where do you see yourself in 1 to 3 years? The third question, this is where we do the workshops. The third question is when you need to go away, and if he's answered 1 and 2, let's say that you want to get married, okay, and he says to you, I want to be married in 3-5 years, okay, then you could ask him things like that's related to the goal that you want, that he has said that he would want to do, i.e. the wedding. He wants to get married, okay? So then you could turn on and you could then elaborate on that by, if you want children, you can talk about, does he have any nieces and nephews? Does he have any cousins? Does he do anything?
I'm 51. I don't want children. This is an adult show. I don't,
Yes, hypothetically, I didn't know what your age was. I'm just asking. I'm using that as an example.
This is a show for more mature people over 40, so we can leave the children thing out. But you said that there were 3 key questions that you would ask during a first date. The first one was about where do you see yourself in the first 3 years, and then you said describe, where do you see yourself in 3 years' time, and then you said describe what that would look like.
Yes.
So now you're telling me that the third part is that I would go away and see basically what I am matching up with what he is saying.
No. In that date, you've asked him those first 2 questions.
Right.
And you know what you want, right? You know what you want, and you know what you don't want. Mm-hmm. Now, let's focus on the positive. So if he's told you something that you want, okay? So let's say, for argument's sake, this is you're a mature woman, and you may want to just, I could be assuming that you're Jamaican and you want to emigrate back to Jamaica. I'm just making it as an assumption, okay? Or it doesn't have to be Jamaica,
don't you?
I'm just because I'm Jamaican, so I was using that as an example. It could be Africa. It doesn't have to be Jamaica. I'm using that as an example. Now, if he wants to go back home, and he, someone just said some women do.
Some women want children.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought that because I actually know a few women who are 40 plus
But I'm saying for me, I'm 51.
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
Children.
So I don't know what you want. Is it Michelle? I have no idea, but I'm just making an assumption because I don't know you. So I'm just putting it out there. So if whatever you want, you must know the top 5 things you want from your relationship for the next guy, right? You know what they are. If he has said something that positively highlights any of those 5 things, then it's for you to subtly probe one of those areas that's important to you, but subtly, right? Now, if, for example, you want to get married and he said about the wedding, you may ask him, oh, as you were speaking about you want to get married, would you want to get married in the UK or abroad? That's usually a common question that you get asked about that. Then he may say to you, well, I may want to get married abroad. What country? And then it opens up avenues for that. And then you get into an angle there. Who would your family would be? Would your best man? And just get into a light-hearted conversation about that. But what he's doing, what you're doing, you're setting him up by he's selling himself to you. And then by the information he's giving you on that first date, you would be in a better position to know whether he's sharing the same values with you, instead of waiting 3-6 months down the road. We've all been there where we've met someone 3-6 months, and then 6 months down the road, we look back and it fizzles out. But the signs were usually there in the beginning, and we chose to ignore them. And secondly, we didn't do our homework in the beginning. What I'm telling you, I can't guarantee, but you're in a more in a better controlling position from the early days than asking these questions, because women say to me, oh, but I don't want to mention the M word because it may put him off. But don't mention the M word. Ask him, where do you see yourself in 3 years, and shut up. He will tell you.
Okay, can I ask you something else? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Based on what you were saying earlier then, and Yvonne Michelle was saying about communication, do you not think it would be a good idea during the first date to define what single means to both of you?
No, I don't think so, because it's if a woman asks me that, I've been on dates in the past where a woman may ask me, have you been seeing anybody? Okay. A man is not really going to tell her a man is not going to say that if a woman got out of his bed this morning, he's not going to say to you that happened. And you don't really want to know that. Well, you do, but you don't really want to know that. If I went out on a date with you and we're on a date and whoever slept out of my bed this morning and we're going out for a meal tonight, it happens. It happens. This is what happens.
I'm not talking about someone telling you who was in their bed the morning or the night before. I'm talking about defining what single means. So what dating means to you, because like you said, people can be single in different ways, because you don't want to set up the whole situation. If you're a serious person, you don't want to set up the situation to be dishonest. You don't have to know exactly what the person did 2 hours before you. But what do you define as single? Are you just dating at the moment? Is anybody thinking that they are in a relationship with you, so that you are aware? Because it's not just about what he says, it's about how his body is going to react as well. And we need to listen and we need to read the signs. So that's why I'm asking you.
I'm saying to you from a man's perspective, how that is not one question that is a kind of question that gets asked by a lot of men. Don't get those questions asked in the first date. If a woman asks me that in the first date, I would want to me, there's a reason why she wants to know that. And that reason has nothing to do with me. So whatever reasons she's asking me that, like, for example, because I'm clued up. So if I'm going out on a date with a girl and she asks me that question, I'll say to her, I can answer you that, but you be honest with me. Why is that so important to you? Are you going to judge me because if I've got an arrangement going with somebody and she's come out of my bed this morning and I'm out with you in a meal tonight and I like you and you could be the one, why do you need to know that about me? And that's got nothing to do with me. That's more about the question the woman's asking. And then to me, and I think most guys that will ask that question will find that kind of uncomfortable and strange because you said in the first date.
Yeah, because you were saying about the 3 questions. I've just got one final quick question for you, and then I'll leave you.
Liverpool playing kickoffs in about.
Do you know what? It is actually 11 o'clock. So, but I'm gonna give you like 3 minutes. Not you, so you've got 1 minute. Kim has her hand up, and then we're gonna end the show because Des will be back. He will be back. Yeah.
Come on, Anish. What's your final question then? Invoices in the post.
Michelle. My question is, knowing what you know now about the relationships and coaching women about relationships, not the business side, but the relationship side.
Yeah.
And all the experience that you now have, the women that you've coached towards relationships, what is your success rate?
I said that earlier on. There's loads of, if you go to my website, there's loads of testimonials, weddings, babies, engagements.
The sound went earlier, so it might have been then.
Sorry, yeah. Loads of weddings, loads of engagements, loads of babies. My testimonials are on my website, on my YouTube channel. I was in Primark last year, and this woman came up to me. She goes, "Oh my God, I bought your DVD, 21 Steps on How to Find the Right Man." And one of the tips I said to her was, when you go out with a group of girlfriends, well, if you have to go out with a group of girlfriends, avoid going to the bar and the ladies in a group. And I said in my program, go alone. And unfortunately, when you women go out, you don't think strategically like that because you're out with your girlfriends, you're talking, you're having a good time, but the men are watching you. And if a man has watched you and he likes the look of you, and if he's a bit nervous, he's less likely to come and approach you with the fear of rejection with all your girlfriends. So therefore, he needs to get you when you're alone. So in my program, one of the tips I said is go to the ladies alone and go to the bar alone. So get the money from your girlfriends or whatever you had to do to go and buy the round, get the round, because when you go to the bar, you are by yourself. What happened? This guy went and spoke to her at the bar and she got married after that. And she said, I would never have done that if it wasn't for your DVD. So, and I didn't know that I didn't know it happened because it was from a webinar. She didn't even come to my event. What I'm saying is that she said to me, "Oh, I lost your number," whatever it was. And she gave me, I got her pictures and she got married because of that one, because she did something different. And none of her girlfriends I think she said her girlfriends are still single. And they used to take the mickey out of her for listening to my webinar, How to Find the Right Man and stuff. She's married, happily married, and they're all still sort of single. So, yeah, loads of testimonials. Check out my website, check out my YouTube, all diverse. Like I said, I started working with our community, so I know all these things that have been brought out. There's not any questions that hasn't asked me when listen, if you've got 200 black women in a room and I'm coaching them how to find the right man, I'm getting there's not one question I haven't been asked before.
Thank
you. It's good. Thank you. Thank you for your questions, Mish. Coming to my next event.
Okay, so just to assure you though, for those of you who are listening, when we do bring people on, when we do bring our guests on the show, I do vet them quite well. So
oh yeah, she's vetted me.
Yeah, I have.
Vetted me.
I've looked because the thing is, we're doing this event, and I want to bring you the
best, please. Connors,
the best that there is around in the UK. Because, you know, I'm not going to fly anybody in from the States. So I'm looking for the best that there are in the UK. And so Des was, I've heard about Des years and years and years and years when you first started the dating relationships, actually, because there was a lady called Helen Tucker. I don't know if you know her.
Oh, yeah, Helen.
Yeah, and she told me about you. And,
yeah, she lives in Luton, doesn't she?
She does, but she lives in Dubai now.
Oh.
She's been living in Dubai for years. But
she used to come to a lot of my events, yeah.
Yeah, she mentioned you to me years ago, and then, you know, many people have mentioned. So when I was looking for a relationship expert, your name kept coming up, and so I sought out Des. So that's why Des is here today. So Kim, You had your hand up.
Yeah, let's circle back to what you said when you met your second wife. And you said
First one. I mean, one and only wife.
Sorry, I apologize. I don't know why I had you married twice.
I was a second.
Right. And you had said that she sat you down and said, "Look, this is what I expect, and this is what I'm going. What I want from a situation." Now, with regards to my beloved peer Michelle, when she asked for the definition of single, I suspect it's more to do with monogamy as opposed to it just being this thing where, how do you define single? Because for most people, as you said throughout the conversation, the norm is monogamy. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Yeah, but what I also said in relation to Michelle's question is, it's not the kind of question you want to ask a man on the first date.
Let me push back. I think if a person just tells me that they rolled out of bed with old girl, my line of questioning would be with regards to that person's health and how they manage that. Are you boots up with old girl or what?
I think when
I'd be more interested in that.
The man is. Let's be straight now, and I've said this so many times today, and I say it again. He doesn't have to tell you who came out of his bed in that morning, just like you don't have to tell him, for one, right? Point number one. So he's not going to tell you that, for one. So then that conversation wouldn't take place because he hasn't told you that. He's going to make out that he's single and just waiting for you to come into his life and you can be living as one. And then when that does happen, for example, with me, when I met my ex-wife, I had girls left, right, and center. She knew about me, but she knew that, listen, if you're going to be with me, I have a young child who's 18 months. I'm a homely woman. If you're looking for one of those flyby girls out there, I'm not that. And I respected her. I respected her for that because as a man, it was the first proper woman, because they were just girls I was dating prior to that. Does that make sense? She was a woman. She knew what she wanted, and that's what I was subconsciously looking for as a man. But I was running away from it with all these girls. Does that make sense? So
I just want to ask you, so are we still working with the Madonna whore thing then? That's what I'm trying to get to. Right? That there's certain women that men will just put into this pocket of, this is the girl that I do this with, but this person is going to be the homely wife, the person who I believe is going to be a long-standing woman, because that in itself is problematic. I can't change that. Only men can.
You would never be able to change it. But there's lots of men out there, including myself. That's why I keep making reference to what happened with me. I didn't plan to get married. I had my own stuff going on, Kim, in my head, and I was most probably. It's quite weird to explain, but I wanted to get married and settled and have the setup because my brother had the same. My brother had that, and I had an older brother that he got married from when he was young. So I was always going round to his home, and I saw the setup. I saw the home, the environment. He was married. He had a house. He had his wife and his children, and I subconsciously wanted that. But then because I started off going out with my friends and mucking about with girls, I was sabotaging it, and I didn't realize that. But it's only when I met a woman, the right woman for me at the time, that I realized this is what I want. And it was little things like when I came to her house. I remember when I went to her house, one of the first, she said, come around for lunch, just a little light lunch, and she gave me some I think it was she made some bun and cheese, right? That as minor as some people think that is, that's a big thing to me, because I grew up on that. And then when she cooked me my meal, that was the food that I like. So that was another. So it was like, but I wasn't getting that before. And then she had the home. She was set. I saw her as a mother growing up with her little boy, and I wanted children. I wanted just so all those buttons were ticked. So then eventually, I just was focusing on her because we lived in the same area anyway. So therefore, the girls that I was entertaining had to go. They were gone, and we got engaged. Got engaged very shortly, and then we got married and what have you not. So the reason why I share that is that because that's my experience. But then, Michelle, you need to be really careful in the questions the guys are you're asking, because if you ask me that question you asked me, I don't want to know why that's so important.
I didn't say I was going to ask the question. I was just asking you.
Yeah,
because
but
you mentioned it. Because from as far as I'm concerned, I think we need to kind of keep it real. Because if all these men are doing that before they find the right one, and they're absolutely right to do that, I have no problem with men.
I didn't say all men. I said some. Right? It's careful. I said
fine.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is
there's some men that do that, and women, as Yvonne said.
Too.
That's what I'm saying. Women do it too, because clearly those some men that are doing it have to be doing it with women. So therefore, a lot of single women that are going on dates are not single all the time. So I'm just trying to make it balanced. I certainly wouldn't ask that question. There's a lot of questions that I wouldn't ask, because before I even get to the date, I already know that information, because I'm not wasting my time. Okay, I need to know what your passions are, what your ambitions are. If you can't tell me, I'm not going to waste my time or your time to go to the.
Unfortunately, most people don't. Unfortunately,
and that's the thing.
That's
and
the thing.
I think that is, when we are asking questions, and when we are asking for ourselves, but many times there are others out there that are not living that way. And so it is about giving that balance as well. It's not, when we're answering the question, unless you're asking directly for yourself, then it's fine. But if you're asking a question, we still have a duty of care to make it a little bit more general, so that everybody gets a piece of the pie. And I think that in terms of the single thing, I think more women now are saying that they're single and they're not.
Oh yeah.
I think that before it was a thing of the past where women
back in the day when I did my events, it was
I think women were more inclined to say, I am single, because they were. But now, because we have the FBs and we've got all of these little.
It's easier.
And you can go on Tinder and swipe.
Everybody has more. The difference between now is a lot more choices. And it's because of a lot more choices, people can just take it or leave it and move on and move on. That's why lots of relationships are ending soon. Marriages are ending soon, quicker. People having babies and they're just going. I mean, how many people have you seen they posted on Facebook? They're in a relationship with their partner and all loved up, and all of a sudden you don't see them after 3 months. We've all seen them. We've all seen them. So just
the question. To what degree of honesty do we really want to be in when you're in a relationship? If you can't be, and obviously I get that saying you're single when you have other partners may be a big deal for some people, but honesty. If a person says no, I don't do this, or yes, I'm this, or actually yes, I was born a woman. Those things, because those are the questions that people ask.
You do have to ask that.
In the beginning, in the early days, and let's be honest, there, all of us, we never lay all our 100% cards on all our vulnerability on the table in the first date, because if we did that, the person would most probably run a mile. Let's be honest now. I mean, I've asked you what do men dislike about you, and if you told me the answer without me diluting it, you're telling me that, to my eyes, you're telling me that you're grief. Gone. Fair enough. As much as you are coming and eat your oxtail, and I'll be gone after that, the Guinness punch. And I'll be gone after that. But what I'm saying is, back to what you said, if you meet a man and you're going out on a date with him, he doesn't have to tell you who his last sexual relationship was, or who did he sleep with in his bed last, because you're not in a position to demand to know that, because you're just dating him. You're just going out on a date with him. When you're exclusive, and we all know when you're exclusive, that's different. Then you can say, like, who was you seeing before you met me? And he goes, I was seeing so, because you and him are one. It doesn't really matter. And you've already passed that threshold of trying to get together as one. So therefore, when he asks, and I say to women, don't, you ask a man a question, what are you going to do with the answer? If he tells you, if he asking the question, if he's telling you what you don't want to hear and you're going to judge him, and this is the reason why I bring this up, because when I used to have my events, can you imagine, it was 200 women in the room and us men were saying, this is how it is with us. And no matter what women say, you're not going to change it. This is how it is. So, and there's a process, and this is how we go through the process. So don't judge a guy when he's not really doing anything wrong. But he's not going to tell you on the first date, you shouldn't really ask him that, who was your last sexual relationship with, which girl then you're going to be scanning up on his Facebook. I'm just saying, not you, Michelle, I'm just saying generally. So therefore, you need to be careful of the questions. Even the questions you're asking him before you get him on the date. Just be careful of the questions, because you don't know what he may think. Wow, why does she need to know that? Why does she need to make having some fun, light-hearted, and there's a process there as well. I mean, we could go on all about this, but what I would say again is, if you meet a man, he doesn't, just like you don't have to tell him. I mean, there was Electric. What's that? That TV show that was on, that was millions of the African couple, the black girl and the white, Shola, and Electric, and she met him, she was going out with him, and she was sleeping with her ex while she was going out on dates with him. I don't know if you saw it. While she wasn't sleeping with him, but she was going out on dates with him. And then when she found out that she wanted him, she dropped her ex. Right? Now, I understand a lot of men wouldn't like, I can see why he wasn't too happy about it, but then it is what it is. She hasn't done anything wrong, but in his mind, and that was because of his ego, that was because, and the worst thing, I suppose, for him, and I suppose whether it was a man or woman, is that every time if you think about it, every time he's reflecting back, he's going to be wondering, every time we saw each other, was that night you was going to sleep with your ex? Or did you just get out of your ex's bed and come and see? Because these are the kind of things us men will be thinking about because of our ego. Because he's feeling that even though they're not an item, he's feeling her. She's an attractive girl. So he's gone out of her and thinking, yeah, I'm going to behave myself. I'm going to do what I need to do to get this woman. And in the middle of all that, she's still sleeping with her ex. Yeah. But then she did say, I didn't do anything wrong. And it's one of those ones where it's like, she didn't do anything wrong, but then he's upset about it. And then it's an issue in their relationship because he's still bringing it up years later and he's happy about it. Oh. But he can't sort of change it. So women do it.
Kellyanne just said, well, women normally will ask men intrusive questions on early in their meetings. So yeah, I mean, we have to learn to take what men say. Sometimes it's not palatable. Sometimes we don't like it. Sometimes it's a bit sour.
And women.
Sometimes, but how we are as women.
Yeah.
It's sometimes
because you want the truth. Yeah, I get it.
We want the truth.
Women want all the truth now, and what I'm saying is, you could meet a guy and he's just got a friends with benefits and everything's cool. He doesn't want to tell you that because he's not really feeling her. It's just a physical thing, but he's feeling you. And then he doesn't want to tell you because he knows it's going to hurt your feelings, etc.
Yeah.
So then eventually, when he's made up his mind that he wants to be with you, he's told this other girl, look, I'm feeling Yvonne, stop, right? And that's that. That's happened to me many a times back in the day. And a lot of men go through that. So when women ask those questions, just be careful. What are you going to do with the answer? Because he ain't doing anything wrong. So what are you going to do?
Anything wrong, Des? However, what if old girl says, "Oh no, it don't work like that," and it's fatal attraction type scenario? Those are the things when people.
He won't tell you, Kim. He won't tell you. I'm telling you, he won't tell you.
I understand what you're saying. However, I always look at the alternative. If the woman does, she enjoys that dicky, and it's like, what you don't want to give it to me no more. Old girl's gonna get it. No. And you get women that can draw the line, and they will continue to make your life a living hell.
But that goes down.
Then you must learn. You must learn not to do that.
I don't want to be at my house with some broad trying to kick my door off for you. No.
And this is why, you know, you've got to know we are grown folk, we're big people, yeah. And I know, I mean, I could, off the top of my head, I can name quite a few people that I know that's in this entanglement business, yeah.
We all do.
Yeah, but it's a choice. It is a choice. And I think that, you know, if you're in it, because I've had these conversations, I had this conversation on Sunday with somebody. If you're in it and you meet someone, why are you going to tell them I've got a friends with benefit? You're never going to tell you whether you're male or whether you're female. They're never going to have that conversation, and they will get rid of that person that they're with before they get into, well, they should do, into that relationship with the person that they want. Right? This friends with benefit thing is a new age something, because back in the day with our parents, they had it, but it wasn't called friends with benefit. It was called something different.
Keelan's hit the nail on the head.
What he says, well, women want the truth, but they often cannot handle the truth. But so early in the game is unnecessary because it's early. Absolutely.
Yeah. What are they going to do with that? What are they going to do with that? I'm with you, and me and you are going out on meals, and then you're saying, "Oh, who's the last girl that you slept with?" And I said, "Well, yesterday." And then, but me and you've gone out on 3 meals.
The thing is,
that's not the point. That is not the point. If you're someone who has multiple partners, like there's like a bunch of
listen, ladies, we have gone 23 minutes of the time. Right? So what I said is hold this thought, because Des is going to come back. And I knew this would be controversial.
I didn't get a chance to talk about my shoes. It's all right.
It's coming.
Thank you, Michelle and Kim. This should have been a 5-minute conversation with you two, but don't worry.
Cheeky as well, you know.
I know. That's what I was, when Michelle says I've got a few questions, I thought, yeah. Just reminding you, football season starts in a month. I want to make sure I catch Liverpool game because I'm going to be here.
Oh dear, Liverpool. There we go.
He said done that.
She looks like an Arsenal fan.
You're an Arsenal fan, Michelle. Who are you? Who do you support?
Brentford.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Okay.
Yeah. Why don't we go to a game? Why don't we go to them when they play Liverpool? You can get tickets.
I have a season ticket. I said that. You should be listening.
I did say, but I was trying to answer your question.
Tickets you just asked me. I've got a season ticket, so yes. I've got tickets.
Can you? He said, can you both go?
Yeah, I'll come and sit. Get a ticket. Yeah.
Theo's over there saying no. If you're going to Liverpool, he's coming with you.
Yeah, so it's 2 guys. Are you single? There's a single guy over there. We're going to come to you for the football match. So there you go. See.
So guys.
So Brentford. I'll go and look on when Brentford are playing Liverpool, and then yeah, there we go. See.
There you go.
She seems like a woman that is integrity. That has integrity. Brentford. Whoa, that's cool. They did well coming up.
Yeah. Thank you.
They're going down though next season.
No. Listen, guys, we've gone well over time. We haven't gone over time like this since way back in the day. But it's been a good conversation, and Des, you've been an amazing guest.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's been fun. No, Kim, Michelle, it's all about love. It's all good. Everybody else.
So next week we've got a fun packed show for you, actually, and we have an Afrobeat star coming in to the show, and he's going to be talking about relationships, but he's also going to be performing as well. So that should be quite interesting. Yeah, we're doing all things on this show.
Yeah.
We are mixing and blending the show up. We are trying new things this season because we cannot be put in a box. No, man, we can't. Listen, the one thing I've been saying all week is, why try to fit in when you were born to stand out? And so this is a standout show. We're here to stand out. And I want to thank our panel members, Kim and Michelle, for being here and standing out, and those magnificent questions. Thank you. And I hope to see you ladies next week. And from me, Yvonne Michelle, I am just going to say goodnight. And before I say goodnight, I'm going to thank Des for coming in.
Thank you.
And also to just let everyone know that Des does have some shoes. And he'll be coming back to tell us more about the shoes that he's designing for women, and also just let them know when your event is on the 11th of September, is it?
The shoes, and also the shoes are the only shoes in the world that improves women's lives personally and professionally. Take note. Say no more.
Yes. So
yes,
you heard it here first on the After Dark Show.
What was the other question you asked? Sorry.
The date.
Yeah. So my up and coming Women in Business event is on September the 11th, 9/11. I'll say that because people remember that. And it's free. Go to deso'connors.com. You can see the website on the bottom of the screen. It's a women empowerment event. There's loads of speakers. And after that, I'm having a catwalk model audition fashion show. I have 100 models on stage because they're going to be I'm choosing a woman to be the brand of my O'Connor's new shoes that's coming out. So I'm having a fashion show and a competition choosing the winner. And there's going to be an after party until 1 a.m. And men are going to be there. A lot of my male friends, single male friends, are coming along there because there's going to be lots of women there. So, So put on your shoes and your sexy frock and come down.
Right, that's it. And I'll also be speaking at that event, and I should also be filming at that event.
Fantastic. And one thing I would say is that, Michelle, you're welcome to come, but please don't wear a Brentford shirt. You'd be banned from coming in. I'll make security. I don't care what heels you got on. It's all about love. Yeah, let it
pass over.
I have no choice.
This evening.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Listen, guys, we have literally come to the end of the show. We will be back next week, Tuesday, between the hours of 9 and 11. So do join me here next week for another After Dark show. But for now, God bless. Stay safe. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
You got me running, got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it.